So you've got your first day booked of appointments, and 8 a.m. is your first appointment. So how do you prepare yourself for this appointment? And how do you make sure that you give the best possible impression to your customers when you visit them? Remember, we're just at the quoting stage here still, the planning of the job. So the customer has not said yes for you to actually do the job yet. We're purely thinking about that initial visit where you see them for the first time, they see you, you meet them, they show you through the job, and then you can go away and provide a quote. What can you do to make yourself stand out from all of the competition? I'm going to share with you some great tips in this lesson. The number one tip I would say is arrive on time. Don't be late. In fact, when I say arrive on time, what I mean is arrive early, right? Always aim to arrive 5 or 10 minutes early for an appointment. That allows for any unexpected things like extra traffic, and it means that when you arrive there, you're not in a rush to jump out of the van, rush in because you've got like a minute to go before the appointment starts. If you are 10 minutes early, or even 5 minutes early, that allows you to enter the customer's territory in a calm and composed way. You're not out of breath, and you have a few minutes in the van to just prepare your thoughts, to go through your notes from when you made the booking for the appointment, so that you can look and see, oh, what does this customer actually want? Think to yourself some of the questions that you need to ask so that you can know exactly what information you need to take away in order to provide them with a quote. So you arrive 5 minutes early, they see your van parked outside. What I usually do is wait until exactly on the dot. So if it's 8 a.m, I'll arrive and knock on the door at exactly 8 a.m. and that makes a great impression on the customer. If you arrive early, it's not necessarily a good idea to knock on the door early because they might not be ready for you, and that's not very considerate of you to just unexpectedly turn up early. If you're arriving majorly early for an appointment and you know you're going to be arriving early, it's good to just call in advance and say something like, "Hi, I've got an appointment with you at 8 a.m, but I'm just running a bit ahead of schedule. Is it alright if I turn up at 7:45 a.m. instead?" And then often the customers will be fine with that, but you've checked. Communication is really the key with good customer service. And there's a little phrase that I've learned over the years which will come out over and over again in this course, which is always ask, never assume. Never make assumptions. Always ask the question, and then you can be clear on things. So rather than assuming the customer will be fine with you arriving 15 minutes early, maybe they won't because maybe they're only getting back from work just before your appointment. So just ask. And the same if you're running late, of course. Nobody's perfect. We can never guarantee to be on time every time, 100% of the time, because unexpected things happen. Traffic jams happen. Sometimes a job will be delayed and you end up running behind schedule. So what should you do if that happens? Well, again, if you're going to be late, just let the customer know. It's so easy to make a quick phone call, only takes a few seconds, but just to let the customer know you're running late, and ideally give them as much notice as possible. So for example, if you've got an appointment with them at 4 p.m, but by 2 p.m. in the afternoon you look at how things are going and you realise that you're not going to be ready at 4 p.m, what you might do is phone them there and then and say, "I'm really sorry, I'm running a little bit late today. I've got an appointment with you at 4 p.m, but I think I'm going to be a bit later than that, so just to let you know, I'm going to be a bit delayed." And either give them another time, so say, "I'll be with you at 5 p.m, but I'll give you a call when I'm on my way." That's really important, so that they're not hanging around wondering when you're going to turn up. At least when you set off, give them a call saying, "I'm on my way," and you can give them your ETA. How can you get your ETA? Very simple. Use your phone, use your Google Maps or your Apple Maps or whatever you use. Put in the destination in where you're going, and it will tell you exactly how many minutes it's going to take for you to get there. So then you can give an ETA, and I'll normally add 5 or 10 minutes onto it just in case something unexpected happens along the way. And then the customer will be happy. They know what to expect. Managing customer expectations is so important. If you're a good communicator, that sets you massively ahead of most of the competition. Because unfortunately, in the trades in general, communication is something that a lot of tradespeople struggle with, and they let down the trade because of that. And the trade has a bad reputation often for communication, but not you. You are going to be ahead of the competition. You're going to be a great communicator, and that is going to make your business stand out from the rest, and it's going to make you be able to charge much more than your competition, because customers are going to want you because of your high standard of customer service. So that's timing. That's just one angle, but there are other things to consider when you're visiting customers. And another really important thing is etiquette. Being polite. A big smile goes a long way. Before the days of COVID, we would do a handshake. Maybe that's not so appropriate anymore, but you probably have to gauge the vibe from the customer. But if it's appropriate, at some point you could do what is polite and friendly to introduce yourself. And the whole idea is just to make the customer at ease, to show them that you're a nice person and that you're there to help them. If you have to go into the house, are there any considerations when you step inside somebody's house? Well, if you're a tradesman who's been working on site all day long, you've probably got mucky boots. And it wouldn't be very polite, would it, to walk into somebody's house with mucky boots on? So what you might choose to do is take your boots off. But there could be some safety issues with walking around in bare feet. Some stray bit of carpet gripper might catch you at your toes. So what I do is use shoe covers. So as soon as myself or one of my electricians enters the property, and this is an absolute gem of customer service, it just makes such a good impression with the customers. As soon as you step onto the front mat, you put your shoe covers on. And I'll leave a link in the notes for a product called Muck Guard. It's a reusable shoe cover that's made of a kind of waterproof wetsuit material. It's reusable. You can just use them for a few days and stick them in the washing machine. So they're not those horrible blue plastic things that you throw away after one use. They're environmentally friendly and they make such a good impression on the customer. For 20 or 30 quid for a pair of those, this will set you above the rest of the competition when it comes to customer service. So you put your shoe covers on straight away, and the customer knows that you respect them, that you respect their house, and they're going to be thinking about that going forward when they want you to book in the job. They're going to know that you are going to work clean and in a respectful way, which customers will appreciate. And they're willing to pay a premium for that. You walk around the site with them, they show you the job. You don't want to be argumentative at all. For example, they have an idea about how to do the job that actually you think is stupid. You always want to be polite and respectful of their ideas, but offer suggestions in a way that they are more likely to take on board. For example, if their way of running in a cable is going to be a nightmare to do it and it's not very practical, maybe you can offer an alternative suggestion that would be pleasing to them. But at the end of the day, remember that the customer is always right. And if they want the cable run in a certain way, that's what they want. And you want to try to accommodate that as much as possible. But they've got to be willing to pay for it. So you have to explain to them that, yeah, basically we can do anything as long as you're willing to pay for it, and it's going to cost you. That's the principle I go about my business in, is that if a customer wants something, they can have it, as long as they're willing to pay for the extra time and materials that might be involved in having that result. Within reason, of course, as long as it complies with the regulations and it's not unsafe. And I don't think about a job from a tight sort of money saving point of view, because often customers aren't so worried about the cost as much as how it actually looks or how they feel about it. So don't just assume that they're going to want to go for the cheapest option. Listen to the customer. Try to gauge what they think about the job and how they're reasoning about the job. So for example, if aesthetics are important and they don't want to see any cables, then probably they're going to be willing to pay the extra to hide those cables and to have the decorating done afterwards. So just make it clear to them that you can do it that way, but it will cost extra and they're going to have to think about getting plastering and decorating done afterwards. And often customers will be fine with that, and they've already thought about that anyway in advance probably. So treat the customer like the king or queen. Respect them. Look after them. Show them that you are there to help and to provide the service that they need. and you'll set yourself ahead of the competition, and you're much more likely to win the job. Then, just about to leave the site, just reassure the customer that you'll prepare a quote for them and you'll have it ready for them very soon. So ideally, give them a time scale so that you can set their expectations. For example, if you're really busy, just say, I'm really busy at the moment, but I'll try to get the quote out to you within 7 days. Or you might say, I'll get this quote to you within the next 48 hours so that then we can go forward and get this booked in for you. Depending on your schedule and your own time expectations, just set the expectations for the customer so that they know what to expect. Because a lot of tradesmen, they'll turn up, they'll have a look around and say, oh yeah, I'll give you a quote, and then they'll never send the quote. Or what you might say to them is, if you haven't received the quote in the next 3 days, please check your junk mail folder, because sometimes it goes there. And that's a nice way of explaining to them that they should expect to receive your quote within the next 3 days. So that's it about visiting potential customers. Now, how do you go away and actually prepare that quote? That's what I'm going to talk to you about in the next lesson.